Welcome to the KYP podcast. My name is Dany. I'm with my co-host,
Korean King.
Kevin G.
That caught me so off guard.
Let's just accept it. Sejong.
As you can see, we also have Teddy again on the episode chewing on a bone, so don't mind him. He's a good boy.
Don't distract him. He might annoy us later.
Yeah, so I think one of the comments we've had on our podcast is just, who the fuck are you guys?
Straight up.
Straight up.
Verbatim.
And I think we really, we've talked about a lot of things in general about our life as being Asian Canadian. You know, we're just three regular dudes, three different paths of life, and we managed to merge into one. And so I'd like to just go through really how we shaped our mentality to be able to talk about so many different things on this podcast, right? And it all starts from your childhood, right? So
Yep.
I'd like to go with Kevin, really.
I think, if I was to summarize like the theme of my upbringing, it's kind of like being stuck in the middle of things. Like, being Chinese, of Chinese descent, and then being the only person in my family who was born Canadian and grew up their whole lives here. I always felt like I was, I didn't fully belong in, Canadian society in Montreal. When I went to school, I was different from everybody there. When I went back to China to visit my extended family over there, I was also clearly like, everybody treated me like, oh my God, the Canadian foreigner coming here. Oh, do you know about this? Do you know about that? I bet you don't have this in Canada, right? Or do you like Canada better or China better?
Your Chinese is pretty good for
Chinese
Canadian.
Pretty good, yeah. It was also, and then back home in Montreal, like, oh, you're pretty chill for an Asian. You're pretty cute for an Asian. All these things. Like, I never felt like growing up I was the same as everyone else. I always felt like a little different, and I think at some point I decided to embrace that. And at other points in my life, I decided to try to hide that and try to be something different, try to fit into everyone else. And I think, as far as it goes now, I think the part that won out was to just embrace the differenceness, the being different part, right? Because I feel like that's what makes me feel the most comfortable. I feel like when I was forcing myself to assimilate, I didn't feel really like myself.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Definitely, especially when I went to French school, back in primary school, elementary. It was so hard for me to adjust at a certain point. Thankfully, I had a lot of Korean friends that went to the same school, so it was easier to make friends and interact at school. But as soon as we all drifted apart, and it was back to square one. You had to make friends with white kids, but even then, I found myself making friends with other immigrants. Like Goody. Goody he went to the same elementary. That's how I met him in the 4th grade. He came straight out of Venezuela, right? So we already spoke English. We already related in a certain point, feeling like, oh, we're different than everybody else. Everyone's Quebecer. Everyone's white. Everyone was born there. Everyone's well off. Nobody's struggling around us. That was the environment that I was growing up in, and it was so hard for me to just even communicate in French. I speak fluent French, but as a kid, it was just hard to relate culturally. I was always the outlier. I was always the different one, right? Just based on my looks. And that's where immigrant came from, right? It's I'm viewed as an immigrant. I'm viewed as somebody that doesn't speak French, someone that this is probably a Chinese person, an immigrant, someone that came, it's not from here, right? And I always get treated differently. than everybody else. I always feel like I'm discriminated, and that's how I felt my entire childhood. I just felt frustrated.
Yeah,
because I
it's
felt
very subtle. Like
different,
it's just like
it's subtle because you can't process it when you're a kid. You don't know why things are like that, right? What about you, Dany? How did you grow up with?
I went to private school my entire life, right?
Yeah.
So I went to a Catholic French private school in elementary school. And, it was that Asian. We weren't that many Asians. So you try to find like Asian faces and like, oh yeah, I can like be friends with you because you're Asian. You have the skin color as me. You have the same slanty eyes as me. And there's not much that happened, honestly, in elementary school from what I remember. I think what really took off was when I got to high school. High school was different because that's when you start seeing a hodgepodge of different cultural backgrounds, right? It's not about the cultural, it's not about your ethnicity. It's not about, let's say, like where your parents came from. I went to private school because people had money. So you found the people who had money who went to that school. And it just happened that like a lot of people have money. Everyone has a lot of money. And the first thing I did, join up the football team because my friends were like, hey, you want to play football? I was like, yeah, that's the thing where you kick the ball, right? And they're like, yeah, kind of. And then I went to practice the first day and I got the shit kicked out of me. And I discovered that we were talking about American football and not soccer.
Not soccer.
But my upbringing when it came to high school too was just trying to separate myself, trying to separate my personality with different groups, right? You're the cool guy, you're the jock who hangs out with the football dudes, but you're also that Asian nerdy kid that also hung out with the Asian kid that likes anime. But also you want to be speaking English. So you hung out with the Italians. And then you kind of want to be that cool guy, popular guy that everyone likes. So you hang out with the cheerleaders. And so it's like you have these multiple personality that goes around. It just shows you like how much like I've gone through to like please everyone in my circle, trying to like lose myself to please other people. And I think it's so important to like discuss about.
Dany, I never knew that about you because I relate to that very much in terms of like being, I guess you would call it a social floater. Like you float between different cliques. You don't really stay in one set thing. I very much, that was kind of what my approach to social life in my school days was as well, right?
Same, yeah.
And, the way you put it there, like kind of trying to get everybody to like you, right? Pleasing everybody. I definitely think that was a big defining factor for me in shaping my personality. But, I think that's partly because when you're young, you don't have a set sense of self yet. So you don't stand for anything. So you're falling for anything, right? For falling for everything, right? And I definitely feel like I was a very easily influenced person. But at the same time, being a person who is able to influence others to kind of like me and get along. So it's been very interesting to see now, what that has amounted to now that I'm an adult and more set in my identity. Like, for so much of my life, all my value, all my validation was set on other people. I depended on that, right?
Yeah.
And now I finally found, like, it's okay for not everybody to like you, not everybody to find you funny, not everybody to agree with you. And, now that I have that, I notice actually my skills with people have my positive experiences with relationships and connecting with people have actually increased because now I have a sense of self and people can feel that, right? It's not like I'm always catering or accommodating to other people, being needy for the affection, and I'm very proud of myself for getting here.
For me, it was definitely, I was definitely the one that stood out a lot. I had a different experience. I wasn't the people pleaser. I was more the
Lone wolf, you would say?
yeah. I definitely thought I was the only Asian kid among like other immigrants,
Interesting.
and I took pride in it. Right. Obviously I'd be the token Asian kid sometimes. Like, oh yeah, you got a small penis, or you're the smart Asian kid. But I embraced it. I'm like, you know what? Like I don't feel that way. So I like you could say that. I'll laugh, but I won't take it personally.
That's very interesting because it's kind of like we were faced with the same challenge.
Yeah.
But we chose a different way to,
So
deal with it.
I think it's different because my school was definitely a lot of immigrants, a lot of Arabs. Like Venezuela, I had a best friend. There was Italians. There all kinds of people at the school. So we all had our own little stereotypes. Oh, like the Asian kid, it's obviously the smart math kid. We got the Venezuelan, he's the Mexican. We had like the black guy that was the rapper. We had the Arab guy that was a terrorist.
Okay.
Like
everybody
had their own thing.
Everybody had their own thing.
Yeah, we took pride in it because we were that thing.
Oh, interesting.
In the How I Met Your Mother episode, it's like in business, in a firm, a corporate firm, in order to stay in that company, you need to have a thing. You need to be the guy.
The guy.
That one guy that does it for the whole
the
group.
Football guy.
Yeah, the football guy, the sports guy, the gambling guy, the wizard, the one that likes. Anyways, so in high school we were all ethnicities, right? Different ethnicities, and we took pride in it. And I was definitely the kid that was wearing skinny jeans and like tight shit all the time. So I was like, every time we had like a free dress day, so no uniforms, I would just put out my personality because I used to love fashion even back then, right? And so in high school, that's how I navigated it. That's why it helped me find myself a lot quicker, like instead of being the person like, oh, like, I'm the Asian kid, like, fuck me. Like, instead of taking it, I got a small penis, everyone thinks I have a small penis, like, fuck these motherfuckers,
Everyone thinks I play violin or piano.
Yeah, so like, I didn't take that personally. I took it as a joke. I took it like, yeah, I have a small penis, suck my dick,
Yeah.
I took it that way. And in high school, it's a fucking jungle. You need to be confident or you're the outcast.
It's so important.
Right?
See, like for me, the reason why I tried pleasing everyone is in my mind being that reject loner in high school was social suicide.
Definitely, yeah.
And what made me thicken up my skin in terms of insult was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in the live lobbies. In the lobbies, right? Where they like throw insults at you all the time. They're like,
So toxic.
and it's like, yo, bro, suck my dick. You fucking suck.
Fuck your mom.
You're gay. Suck my dick. I'm like, bro. I mean, number one, I'm on top of the leaderboard. Number two, does that make you gay for wanting me to suck your dick? And he's like, shut up, bro. But I think that thickens your skin a lot when people throw insults at you. And all of us, we've gone through that thick skin where we played like online games where we got shat on. We hung out around people who didn't believe who we were.
Kevin knows.
You were so toxic on League of Legends back in the day, man. So fucking toxic.
It's because you're my support, bro. You're not supporting me.
Yo, don't
man.
even play, man.
Bro, if you're playing support, at least support me. Don't fucking like go all in.
I was Shen top main back in the days, man. I got the teleport. How many times I bail you out with that fucking clutch ulti?
Sometimes
man?
you did it too late, bro.
Yeah, even Michael Jordan have his off days, man.
See, I was a fucking troll on League. Like, I would be a full AP Shaco support.
That's why.
Honestly, that's meta.
I know.
That's meta now?
That's meta, yeah.
I would like play. I was Sona full AP.
That's meta too.
Like I'd shield bash and it was like 2k off of the ADC.
So everything that's like that was troll back then, it's meta because the pros did it and they proved themselves. So like you could have probably been a pro because you set the bar. Right?
I mean, I was stuck in bronze.
You're ranked pretty high, no?
No, I was bronze because like my ex, like who doesn't know how to kite? Like
Yeah,
my
true.
ADC didn't
True,
know
true,
how
true.
to kite
Yeah,
as Ashe
as
and
Ashe.
Caitlyn.
Yeah, it's the easiest fucking character.
I'm like, bruh.
Not Caitlyn, but Ashe is the easiest character.
Yeah. You know that this makes me think of one time in Sejep, like, cause I love all these video games and League of Legends, you know, all throughout Sejep or school, when we were going to school together. Every night I come home and we play League of Legends together, right?
Fuck.
But in school, I hung out with the cool kids, you know, whatever, you know, like my rugby team friends and, you know, my friends from high school. We went to a private, like everybody's trying to be cool, wearing,
Because everyone's fucking rich.
wearing
Yeah.
Yeezys and shit when you're like fucking 14. So in school, I remember this specific moment where we were waiting in line for the cafeteria, and this like group of like nerdy, wholesome Asian kids are talking about the new patch to League of Legends. You know, they're introducing new champion, they're changing the meta. It was like a big update, and you know, my friends that I was hanging out with waiting in line were like, you know, what are these fucking losers talking about? I'm like, yeah, fucking losers. and then when I got home from school that day, I was like, oh shit, I get to play the new champion. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like Hecarim or some shit. I don't know.
True.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever had to prove your worth in high school to like people?
Oh, all the time.
James?
Yeah, all the time.
Prove my worth. Constantly, man. Like, if I didn't prove my worth, I'd be the other Asian kid that was a reject. There were 3 Asian kids, me, and 2 other people, and they were just stuck on, like, they were just antisocial. So obviously that doesn't help, right? And they actually became a couple, which is another story.
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
cute.
That's very cute.
It was toxic, bro. I don't know. I don't wanna talk about it. They were like fighting, and it was weird. But you had to prove yourself. If you're gonna be antisocial and you're not gonna join the group, play Minecraft like after school with the group, they're not gonna let you in. And imagine I'm hanging out with the Italians. I had different groups too. I had the Italians, we had the Arabs, we had the South American people. And it was different groups, and you had to be the social like butterfly. You had to be friends with everybody because it was such a small school. We were like max 40 people in one grade. So if you're not friends with anybody, it's the loneliest island in the world, right? Because it's such a small school, and then no one basically talks to you.
Yeah.
So every day was a challenge to be that Asian kid and also be myself at the same time. What about you, Kev? I'm sure you had a struggle too.
Like literally the way we describing it, high school is literally prison, man. Like you walk in the first day, they try to punk you.
Definitely.
You know, if you don't stand up for yourself, rest of your fucking school life, you're eating with the math teacher. You're eating
You're eating in the hallway alone.
in the hallway, in the staircase, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was my biggest fear, and all throughout my schooling, I always had been the only Asian kid. I never went to an Asian school. You know, my high school, maybe there was 6 Asian kids in the entire school, but I was the only one in my grade.
Yeah.
Right. And so I knew immediately. And the popular kids in my school were like the freaking the jokesters, right? Like the class clowns, troublemakers. Like, those were the popular kids. Those are the kids the girls gave attention to. Those are the kids, who got away with things.
They got the hose.
Yeah, they got
And
the
the
hose,
bros?
right? Yeah, so you know, imagine first day, everyone's trying to take, teach me how to make a calculator or some shit. You know what I mean? Immediately when I walked in. So I had to, like, the being able to take roast and give roast was an immediate skill you had to learn.
You couldn't be too hard on the "yo fuck you" type of deal. You had to be like, oh yeah, what about
with it?
What about your thing? You know, you had to have a comeback.
So there was a lot of like Jewish kids in my school. There was a lot of.
I'm sure there's a lot of jokes.
Yeah, you know, so there's a lot of back
banter,
and forth. I won't repeat myself, but
no, you don't want to do that. It was all for fun.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm curious to see, because I know you went to Chinese school, and I went to church in a Korean church.
Did you go to anything like that, like a weekend school?
No, I just had
like your Vietnamese community. I'm sure you.
I just had like Viet church, but I fell asleep.
Viet church.
So how did you act in a environment where you saw yourself, like physically, right, and obviously maybe mentally, but how did you act differently from your high school and from that like Saturday school or church, or how did you act differently? Dany, let's go.
Oh, well, I went to Viet church because I'm Catholic, non-practicing. I don't practice, but because like I don't preach, because I was only baptized, I forgot to go to my first communion. And so when you don't go to your first communion, you can't do your confirmation.
Yeah.
And so by that association, you're not allowed to drink the wine and eat the
bread,
the little bread, the ostie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's what it is?
The
Yes.
tabernacle. The
tabernacle. Damn. Okay.
That's the table.
The table, yeah.
That's the table, and then kalis is like the cup where you pour the wine in.
The chalice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and honestly, like every time I went to church, I just go downstairs and there's all these kids playing soccer, and then there's the auntie selling like the sticky green rice. The auntie selling like it's like a little white dough, like rice cake.
Yeah.
We call banseo.
Yeah.
And
It's a Korean rice cake.
no, well, think of that.
Yeah.
That got run over by steamroller.
Okay.
And then now
it's
you pour
flat.
you pour like vinaigrette over it.
Oh, okay.
Dukmam over it. And I just played with the kid, and then I got eventually tired of it, so I just started listening. And church people don't know, but like church, there's when there's a seat in front of you, there's like a little thing that you can pull out in front. So
Yes.
you can rest your knee on it and then pray on the bench. But one time I was like on that thing and I was pretending to pray because I don't fucking understand what the fuck they're saying, because I never had Viet lessons, right? I had to reverse engineer like Viet.
Oh my god.
So I'm just there, and then I start snoring. And my dad just cranks his hand back.
Yeah.
Right across my hand while everyone was silent. And then I
Dang.
got dragged out of church and I never came back.
By your parents?
Yeah. My mom was Buddhist. She just came
Yeah.
to like support the family, to have a community, to talk
Yeah.
with the aunties. But honestly, I was never involved in the Viet community.
So you never had like that, because in my Korean church we had the adult service and we had the teen service. So you were with the adults. That's why you fell asleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was probably like 9 years old by then.
Yeah,
It was fucking boring, man.
I know. It definitely. For me, like Korean church, we had the teen service. Sorry, Teddy's talking to us. He wants to be part of the pod. We had teen service, and for me, I felt like I didn't belong in church, because it was a Korean church, right? And they spoke only Korean, so service was served in Korean. And because I'm not that fluent, I couldn't really understand what they were saying. So I always had like a translator that was translating what they were saying, and it was like my cousin and myself that were the only ones that didn't really speak Korean.
Did everybody else speak English though, like the kids?
Yeah, a little bit. So that's the thing. So it was segregated between the Korean kids that spoke English and French, but they choose to speak Korean, and that are really like they're the fobs basically. And then there was us, the ones that were born in Canada, that speak Korean a little bit, but we rather speak in English. So it was segregated into two groups, and even then, I didn't fit in because there's Koreans everywhere, but I don't really speak with them, right? So we would only find ourselves hanging out with the English group. We were always segregated, so we had like a Bible study, and we were just the English group, and everyone else the Korean group. So that was the struggle. It wasn't very inclusive, and Korean culture is not inclusive at all. It's like
Yeah, you
Korean.
better conform to the.
You have to conform. You have to speak
group.
the language. If you speak just English, then they won't talk to you basically.
Yeah.
And so I always felt like a true outcast, and especially in church, I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be the small penis Asian kid at church because there's nothing for me to stand out but being the immigrant in an immigrant environment, the outcast from other outcasts. So I felt like church was a hostile environment for me, and because I just couldn't communicate. If I spoke Korean, I think I could have gotten along, but at that time I couldn't speak it. And what about you in Chinese school?
Yeah, for me, in my regular high school, I really tried to fit in, right?
Yeah.
Fit in with the popular kids, with the crowd. And then in Chinese school, I definitely stood out as different because everybody else was kind of like, the
Reserved?
The model minority Asians. They kind of were, not troublemakers. They were good kids.
Okay.
They obeyed their parents. They did.
They were compliant.
What adults told them to do, right?
Yeah.
And I immediately stood out because 5 days out of the week I'm hanging out with these goons, these private school goons, tickling each other, causing trouble in class, yeah. And then I go to Chinese school and everybody immediately looks at me like
You're another goon.
like I'm the goonest of the goons, because there's no other goons there, right? And
You stood out like a sore thumb.
Exactly, right? So in my regular school, I would try to fit in, and in my Chinese school, I would embrace being different. I'm like, I am the rebel. What up? I'm the bad boy. Yeah. So that was, I just felt like I wanted to go the opposite of what people wanted from me, right? So in my regular school, the popular kids, the crowd I wanted to be in is like, we don't want you, right? There's a subtle undertone of we don't want you. So I'm like, no, you're going to love me. You're going to love Kevin G. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And then in the Chinese school, it's like everybody was acting the same. Everybody was, doing the same thing, thought the same way. We have to study hard, whatever. And they wanted me to be uniform. They wanted me to don't be so loud, just put your head down, focus, be a good student. And I'm like, fuck you, no. I'm gonna be the loudest. I'm gonna lead the little crew of goons here. You know what I mean?
The goons, eh?
Yeah, I created the goon
squad.
There, yeah. So I think I don't know where that comes from for me. I always had to go against the grain. Like I didn't like people forcing their ideas of how I should be on me. I think it's because at home I'm powerless. Like my dad's such a strong personality that you can't go against him to a certain
That is
degree.
so true. Like my dad was the law in the house.
And absolute law.
And I think that's what made me so flamboyant at a young age.
Right?
At a young age. That's why I was talking shit in the court. I was talking shit gaming. I was talking shit at school because I can't talk shit to my dad, right? I wanted to flex. I wanted to, wear nice clothes because my parents are so humble. They don't like buy fancy things. They save a lot of money. So a lot of the things that they were doing at home, it was like, this is suffocating me. Let me be myself. Let me shine.
Yeah.
Let me not be humble. because I wasn't a humble kid as a kid, as you know. Now I'm more toned down, but it definitely comes from the house.
Yeah.
100%.
See, I'm the opposite. Like with my dad, like I always got into screaming matches with him.
Oh, so
Okay.
you're the outlier, eh?
Like outside, I was
the black
like,
sheep.
outside I was basically just the calm kid that when shit hits the fan and you have to do something, I would do it. Like karate, I was doing Kyushinkai, and so we had all the belts. I was yellow, and then there was green, brown, black, and I kicked every yellow belt's ass to a point where they had to make me fight green belts and brown belts. And in football, right? Like I was, not only did I play on defense, I was 115 pounds wet, and I played as a linebacker and a free safety.
Yeah. So what does that mean for the non-football?
For the non-football team is that you're basically the guy that stops a run. And so the running back targets you first. And you're basically like the captain of the team because you're in the center of the field.
Okay.
And you can see everything. You can call the plays.
You're the playmaker.
On defense.
Yeah, so
On defense.
like popular linebackers, I don't know if you hear their name. Ray Lewis, Urlacher.
I have no idea. I'm not a football fan.
It's like the quarterback of the defense.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
I got
they're
you.
basically, they are big and strong enough to hold their line and stop the run, but they're also big enough and quick enough to stop a pass.
So soccer is the midfielder. They're like
Yeah,
versatile.
they're
You guys
very
are versatile?
versatile.
Okay.
And so for me, like I'm
Small
supposed to be like a cornerback. I'm quick.
His build is more meant for on the
Quarterback.
wings.
I'm supposed to be like covering the
shooting the ball?
receivers. Covering receivers.
Covering receivers.
The
Okay.
the lighter, the faster types.
Oh, I see. I see.
Exactly. So like,
Linebackers are traditionally
Bigger.
yeah, so you had like running backs that were like 200 pounds running full speed at me, and they would literally plow me down.
Yeah.
Like it was like, how do you call those speed bumps? It was literally a speed bump for them. Just like, boom. Did I hit something? And then there's just me on the floor with like my wrist twisted, my leg twisted the other way. It's like, my leg. But that's the thing. And so I put all my aggression on the field or in the dojo. And then when I came, and then everyone else had just internalized it. And then when I got to a breaking point, my dad snapped on me. I was like, I shit on my dad too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I had to like control my aggression
Through sports.
through
I think
sports,
that's healthy.
violent sports.
Yeah. I mean, it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's controlled at least. Because gaming and playing basketball on the court, it was not controlled. It was,
I
it was out of
smashed like
control.
3 of my controllers on my PS3.
Yeah, like the frustration definitely comes out when you're a teenager on objects, right? Like I don't know if you guys ever punched a wall or furniture or smashed your electronics.
There's this like random little plastic like cover on our kitchen wall. It's still there now.
Yeah.
Like if you screwed it off, it's just a big ass hole.
What did you do?
I went like this
On purpose?
Yeah. We were.
Wait, tell me the story. What happened?
I forgot what it was, but it was a very, very heated fight between me and my parents.
Ooh.
Probably they not letting me do something or whatever.
They call you jacking off again?
Oh my god. Yo, we're having a nice talk. Why do we have to do
I'm
this?
just kidding. It's on the podcast, bro. They're gonna watch it anyway.
It's a different episode. Like they don't know this.
All right, watch episode whatever, and we'll find it.
Yeah, but I've definitely like punched the wall. Like I've definitely punched the wall.
I've definitely punched walls too.
So is that something you're well versed in as well?
Punching a wall? No. I never made a hole on purpose. I definitely made it not on purpose because I fell off the stairs and then my kneecap went through the fucking
Oh my
the
God.
fence through the fucking wall. And then I was so scared that my dad would fucking kill me. Like that's how scary it was, right? And then he came home at 11 and I was like, Dad, I fell and there's a fucking wall. There's a fucking hole in the wall. He was okay about it, but I I don't think I ever screamed at my parents. I was definitely compliant at home.
No.
Like I was definitely the quiet kid. So that's where my frustration came out outside of the house, right? Because I kept myself so quiet in the house. And it definitely bled out into my personality. So I'm definitely a quiet kid and introverted, but I always expressed it in a way that I could do it. So through my style, through fashion, through talking shit, being flamboyant on the court. That's how I internalized the frustration at home.
Yeah, see, for me, it's like with my dad, like we always got into fights, and it's to a point where he gets like almost get physical, but he mostly goes like, "Oh, you want to call the cops? You want to call the cops on me? I know exactly where the police station is. It's on Duvernay over there. It takes him 17 minutes to get here. By the time they get here,
You're dead.
I can make another one.
Wow.
Like, I will fuck you up. And they can put me in jail, but what are you going to do? I pay for this house. I pay for your education. I pay for your food. You're going to put me in jail? Put me in jail. I'll fuck you up.
Then he guilt trip you.
Damn.
So for me, I always got used to people. Like, that's why threat doesn't scare me. But that's why I don't get uncomfortable with confrontation. But usually I try not to get to there. But when people see my ugly side, like Jay, you've seen my ugly side.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary.
With our boy Goody.
Because we were
that's
doing an
another day.
RXR stuff, and we were shooting SKUs, which are basically just flat clothing
Product pictures.
for
Yeah.
e-commerce. And, you know, I've done this for years. And then Goody was always in the back. He was like, yo, bro, like, this is long. We should do something else. And I started getting annoyed.
Because it was day 3, right?
Yeah, it was day 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is the quickest way I can think of. And he's like, oh, no, we could do this, we could do that. And it's not even, you know, him helping out. It's like Jay's helping steaming the clothes. Isaac's helping me doing that. Aitana's in the back. He's like looking at the screen, maybe helping a bit. And he's always, you know, that kind of person that always bitches but never puts in effort into your project.
Backseat driver.
At one moment, I got so fucking mad. I like turned around and I just snapped. And then,
Because we were walking to the metro, right?
yeah,
At
and
the end of
then
the day.
Jay and Isaac was like, what the
Yo,
fuck?
traumatized, bro. It ended the company there and then.
That was the last fight.
I think so, right?
I think so. No,
I think that was definitely
one of the first. That's one of the first one. But then I also got in another one with Isaac, and just because
Oh,
you left early.
Oh shit! What happened then?
No. It was just because like I snapped at him, and I just went out and I grabbed the smoke.
You snapped. Wait, was this when I was still with RXR?
Yeah. But you went home because you had Mina to take care of.
Oh. So basically, you had to do everything, and then you got frustrated.
Yeah, I got frustrated
'Cause I'm there to support you.
James is the mediator.
Yeah.
I'm definitely the supporter. Like I know what Dany wants and needs, so I just do it for him. But definitely the other people, you know, it's different.
But coming from this point, like, if we transition to like high school to Cégep, how do you feel your behavior changed? Because I was definitely not the same in Cégep.
It was a huge difference, right? For people don't know, basically, like you graduate high school and you go to another system, right? Like you leave.
It's very cliquey in CJEP.
Yeah, right. For me, like when I went to Cégep, that was the first time I was in school with a huge concentration of other Asian kids, and that was a huge upgrade for me because like I was socialized to be, you know, very social in the goons, the private school goons. And when I got to the Asian school, like I was very like socializing in that environment was very easy for me. Like this is the first time where, you know, being an Asian was not a con, a downside. It was a bonus. You know what I mean? Like
I had such a different experience than you.
really,
Yeah, I mean, you never see me in the Asian calf.
I
first
wasn't
of
in the
all.
Asian cafe.
Oh, really?
But I like,
Dany, were you in the Asian calf? At
yeah, I
Monopolis?
was always in the Asian.
You never seen me, right?
No.
Yeah,
Of course not.
I was never there.
yeah.
I was
I
part
was-
of Hallyu.
Yeah, I was the biggest goon in CJEP.
Yeah.
Like after, like I picked
But
up
that-
smoking.
Me too.
End of high school,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's.
but I had a year ahead of you. So I had like when I
Oh, yeah, you
started.
were.
Yeah, I was a year ahead of you. So that time was like my darkest time.
Really? I
My
didn't
R
know
score
that.
was down. Like I wasn't studying. I was smoking weed like during lunch. I'd go to research methods. Fucking high out of my mind.
Research
Yo,
methods,
fuck
bro.
RM.
Yeah, fuck RM. So
That
I was
was
fucking
so
high,
dumb.
and I was just sleeping the whole class. And obviously, I failed.
Oh.
I didn't fail, but I had a really bad grade. But that was my goon days. Like I would have a cigarette, go to the gym because you had to go to the gym for class, and then I'd smoke a cigarette right after.
But I think just to give everyone the context, we all went to the same school in
Yeah,
Seja.
in Seja.
Yeah, Mernopolis
For
College.
two- for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I was a
I learned a
fucking
lot.
goon too. Like I
Yeah.
just fell asleep, and I think it's the first time that I was hanging around with people to not prove myself in a way, because play football. They're like, oh, you're a piece of shit unless you can do this like tackle drill and you like destroy the offense. But for me, I started hanging out with the Asians
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the dance crew
Yeah.
because
That's
they
cool.
accepted me. They're like, hey, like it's okay, we can teach you that. Like
Yeah.
you don't
I
have
should
to
have went
worry
to that
about it.
group.
It's
'cause
okay
I
to like
used to
that.
dance.
It's okay to be
Yeah,
like that.
and I went to Marinopolis because I got rejected at Vanier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and I
fuck
didn't
you
even.
get rejected to Vanier, bro.
I know.
And you live closer to Vanier. That sucked.
No, I was in Laval, anyways.
Oh, it's not close to Vanier?
No, I'm on the east side.
Oh, so you're closer to John Abbott? Not even, right?
No, I'm like closer to.
What's the CJEP in Laval?
I literally live on P9,
Oh, you would have to go to the French CJEP, no?
Yes,
What was
exactly.
it called?
Maisonneuve.
Maisonneuve, yeah. The police academy. They have a
Oh,
school
I
there.
don't know. I just heard that they had a bomb threat and the SWAT team like unloaded on the school.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
My cousin goes there for
Rest in peace.
So would you say overall it was a better experience in Cégep from high school? Or
I think it was equally as bad
equally as bad?
because
Yeah.
not only now that you're hanging around people who accept you, but it's like in high school you had to people didn't like you and you had to prove yourself. But now you're in Cégep where people pretend to like you, but deep down they fucking talk shit behind your back, which is worse, I think. Like Cégep wasn't great because there's a running gag, right? Where it says put 50 Asians in a room and they'll talk shit about one another or like cause shit. You'll never see a group of Asian without drama.
Yeah, I definitely did not hang out with any Asians in CJEP. I hung out with my high school friends they were all Arab. So I did kind of feel left out at that point because they had their own language, obviously. But I feel like they accepted me for who I was, because I was from our high school. But yeah, I smoked a lot of weed, man. It was fun. That's when I really like got to experiment a lot,
Interesting.
but I abused it. That's why I quit as well.
Cégep was when I had when I had my shit together the most in terms of
I know.
of being a student.
We never hung
and
out.
everything. Yeah, because you know why? Like in my high school at St. George's, like obviously I had to get good grades because that's the minimum requirement to still stay alive in my home, right? But I kind of had to hide that part, like with my cool friends. It's like, let's go
fuck League of Legends.
let's go smoke some weed, whatever. Yeah, I don't care about school, but I'm going home and fucking, I have to hit the
Studying
grades.
hard, yeah.
When I got to Marinopolis, not only was I different from the other Asian kids who, were just academic, I know how to crack jokes. I know how to roast people. I know, I was a very confident kid, especially when I was in Asian environments, because I felt like it was much more difficult in the environment I came from. Not only that, but in Marinopolis, if you get good grades, you're fucking boosted. The
They
girls
respect you, yeah.
Yeah, the girls want the guys with the high R scores,
R
whatever.
score, baby.
And so everything was clicking for me there, and so I also dated a girl who really valued like good academics. The Korean one.
Oh, the Korean one.
Yeah, that when I started dating her, that was when I was my most boosted.
The most boosted.
Yeah,
You were like the smartest kid around.
yeah, because I was trying really hard. Like that was the only time I liked doing academics.
Like a 35R score.
That's the only time I liked
That was
doing
fucking high,
academics
yeah.
because academic achievement. That was the only time it was associated with the social status that
Because they all asked, "What's your art score?" Right?
Yeah,
You're not supposed to tell them.
yeah. But then as soon as I graduated, Cégep and went to college and it was all about drinking and partying
It was
again.
over
It was
for you.
You know what I mean?
See, I'm the opposite because I think starting from Cégep was the moment I realized that I started disconnecting away from the education system.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The path.
Elementary school, high school, it was like grades are everything. I need to have a future. But then I started realizing, like, hey, like this stuff bores me. Like, I don't want to be learning math. I don't want to be learning stuff. I still love history. Don't get me wrong. History is my favorite subject. Like, I'm a history nerd. But it's like I just did the bare minimum. I did the what we call like the min-max route. Minimum amount of effort for the maximum amount of results.
Yeah.
And so I finessed my way through, like, that's when I started, like, cheating. That's when I started, like, doing all these things.
Finding new ways.
And so it would keep me inside of the dance studio so I could do something I actually like and not, like, go to school because I realized, like, what's the fucking point? And after Cégep was the time that I contemplated on joining the, after high school, sorry, it was the time I contemplated on joining the military, right? Because like I couldn't enter Cégep. So I was like, what's the point of all this education stuff? Yeah. And I think that bleds on to how I think today. That's like, listen, like if you can do something you like, then
you don't need a degree to
you don't need a degree to prove anything to people. But it also
you are the example for that.
Yeah.
And also the way I interacted with people in Cégep, right? It's why keep all these people that are in your circle when they talk shit about you, they like stab you behind the back. Why keep these people in your circle when you can keep the people who truly love you? And that's how I think today, right? Keep the people that appreciates you, that appreciates your work, that appreciates everything you give to them, but also keep doing whatever you love in life. And I don't know, like, if you guys saw, like, a natural progression in your side to now how you're thinking about.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's absolutely it. It's like you learn how, when you're younger, you rely on the group for all your validation. And as you grow older, you learn that, you know, all that superficial validation is not actually beneficial to you. Like the fake friends, the frivolous friends who like you for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So I after my first year, I tanked my R score already.
Kobe R score.
And then, Kobe R score. No, lower than that probably. Michael Jordan. But I started hanging out with my high school friends and I started really focusing on school because my girlfriend at the time, you know, she was a straight A student, and she really helped me create a system where I could really study and focus and, you know, get good grades. So I did just that, and then it was the time to apply for university. I applied to university. I went to Concordia, and then straight A student. You know,
like shit together.
Yeah, like you know, A student. For the first time in my life, I was an A student in school. You know, so, and it was in university, so I felt super proud. And then my second year of university, bro, I found myself. I was doing Instagram. I was doing fashion. I was hanging out with my Instagram friends. Started clubbing. I really found a niche in my flamboyant style because while I was studying, I was also taking pictures on the side. And that's when you kept seeing me at Apartment 200, you know, École Privée. Like I was just everywhere, you know, like fashion scene, fashion, you know, events around the city. Like that was like, if I think about it then, about it now, it was like the best time because it was really where I could really be myself, not just an Asian kid, small penis, you know, or the kid with the Arabs or the the Korean kid that's not really Korean. I was the
You were James.
I was influencer. I was James Lee, KYP James, RXR James. I was that person. You know, I was
The
myself.
stuff you chose for yourself.
Yeah. So that was my evolution. And that's what defines me today. And I think, you know, just to really wrap it up, like, started as a really shy kid and then really became myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, the podcast was definitely is definitely a medium for me to express myself in a way that I could never express back then.
Yeah.
Because I used to always express it through my indirectly through my clothes, but now this podcast is like straight up, you gotta talk, you know.
Very well put. Like, the way I see this podcast is like, I'm finally able to say everything I have been holding inside.
A1
In high school,
Yeah.
in CEGEP, in college, I've been holding all this shit inside.
Yeah.
Now, but it's not just the podcast that lets us do that. I've addressed so many of my flaws, accepted them, been trying to work on them. You know, the reason why I'm so confident and I'm not as scared about what other people think of me is because I already think those things about myself. I know those things are present, and you know, you can't tell me nothing new anymore. And so now with that level of kind of emotional maturity, and now being connected with you guys who have so much experience in this field of creativity, all that has given us and given me this opportunity.
I think that pretty much wraps it up. Like always, my name's Dany.
King James.
Kevin G.
And remember to
Kill your pride, baby.